Okay, you guys, thank you very much for joining. So I've got a special interview tonight with Misfit Patriot. As you guys know, I like to interview content creators who are using their authentic voice in a world where people are afraid to speak up about different topics. And so tonight I'm bringing on Misfit Patriot.
Hello.
You're not outspoken at all. You're mild-mannered.
I use social media for its actual intended purpose. Instead of using it to become, famous or anything like that, I literally use it in just to speak my mind. And like an unintended, it's not really an unintended. Obviously, everyone wants more followers, but an unintended really byproduct of that is a lot of attention, because most people are looking at fake shit all day, and they can see something that's like, oh, that person's not faking at all. And you get more hate than you do support. But
Yes, you do.
it's, it's the same thing. It's like with me, there are very few accounts that I would really like follow and say, okay, that person 100% authentic. Like Dan Holloway, Drinking Bros comes to mind. It's like people that don't give a fuck, and they really truly are free speech absolutists, where they just don't care. They don't self-censor. They don't mince their words.
Yeah.
And whatever that is. And I'm not knocking anybody that follows guidelines. I'm not. It's just,
you're not talking to someone who does, as you know. So
yeah, exactly. You as well.
We're good.
It's and that's why I think, you reached out, because real recognizes real. So but yeah, it's funny you open that way, because I've had that that commentary before about my page. So
I'm going to show some of it, because this is when I first got turned on to your stuff, and I think you had just gotten back onto X after this. But you pointed out something that's very important. I mean, just as background, if you don't know me, not only am I conservative, I'm in actual Republican politics, running races as a consultant, etc. So I'm in the business, full stop. Mm-hmm. I also am a pro-Israel activist and Jewish, in case you can't tell. And I hear you're a Jew. Are you a Jew?
Necklace. I am called a Jew more than the Jews.
You are. I mean, I've already given you a Jew card, so you've got it anytime.
And I was telling you, I am named after a Jew. I actually confirmed it with my mom. I'm named after John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, or Zacharias, or however you say it.
You're halfway there.
I'm halfway there. So I mean, on top of having Trump tattooed on me, I can also throw that at my haters, just to trigger them and troll them a little bit.
I love to trigger haters. I love it. So this is when I first got turned on you, and I'm going to show the video. I'm going to show you first. Then I'm going to show Andrew Tate to put it in perspective, but love what you
have a fucking problem in the conservative online social media podcast space. This right here is a big problem. Andrew Tate is the biggest fucking mistake that we can make. And I'm telling you, as somebody who was indifferent to him up until about a week ago, I can see why people are bringing him in. All right. So I don't think that Alina Habba should be fired. I don't like the fact that people are making like connections, which is why I want to post this screenshot. All right. Let's not do this, but also let's not do this. Trigger warning.
So, you
can pause. Yeah, it's basically what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't say a huge fan of Andrew Tate. I was more of like a supporter. I joined his school. I was doing the crypto thing, and I was fooled by this facade until I started here.
Because a lot of people don't know who Andrew Tate is. Believe it or not, I'm in common circles.
I know them well, and I spoke to Barron after the incident.
Here's this guy.
Once I am free, being
bragging about.
Spoke to Barron.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
The attorney for President Trump.
Here's what happened.
Somebody who has been a fighter for the America First Party. Her name is Alina Habba, and she joins us live now.
Briefly, we're going to show you this.
Hey.
Hello, Alina.
So guys, these are all Trump adjacent people. And in the middle is a pedophile and a woman beater. But let me play the rest of this 1 second.
Yeah, just this one, that right there.
Formal charges against Andrew Tate include rape, human trafficking
of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor.
And I'm very close to the Trump family.
Okay.
That was my breaking point, because like right before that, very recently before that, I had just seen the actual evidence, right? And it's a similar thing with Candace Owens, right? You almost feel when you get red pilled on somebody that you actually like, it hits you harder than like this is why I go after the right, the woke right, woke conservatives, right? I hold our side to a higher standard.
Correct.
Right. I hold our side to a standard of common sense, reason, like, just critical thinking, what have you. So when I feel like I'm duped by my own side, I'll have much more of a visceral reaction than if some fucking liberal, like Schenck and the Young Turks, if they're saying something, I expect them to say it. I don't expect our side to be dumb. I don't expect our side to hate Jews. I don't expect our side to be ignorant. Now, with Andrew Tate, I think it was maybe a few days before that Alina Habba thing, I had seen the evidence against him where I finally actually looked at it. And I think it was stemming from a buildup of him very slowly just coming out with because before he was essentially just kind of sensationalist, clout chasing, making jokes like, oh yeah, women are fucking lazy, shit like that. I can dismiss that, right? Like I don't have to like you as a person. I don't have to agree with you.
Yeah, it's provocative and
yeah. But once I saw the video of him like hitting the 15-year-old girl, and I didn't even know it was a 15-year-old girl when I made that video. I thought it was a woman, and
it could be any age.
Yeah, it was bad enough when I thought it was a full-grown woman. And then when you get red pilled, right, you go down a rabbit hole. You're like, I have to make sure that I'm not jumping the gun here, because what I was under the impression was that Tate was just like Trump, right? This is the genius behind him, and I
maligned, misunderstood, hyper masculine.
I have to give him credit because he took full advantage of the Trump E. Jean Carroll situation, the Trump Stormy Daniels situation, where he created a false equivalency. So we trauma bonded with him, and it made us dismiss everything that was staring us right in the face, which is he's guilty. Like he's not Trump at all, right? Like E. Jean Carroll couldn't remember when that happened. She said she was wearing a dress that wasn't made yet. Stormy Daniels signed letters saying she never slept with Trump, that she changed her mind when she wanted to write a book. That's a completely different story than Andrew Tate himself uploaded videos over the course of a decade of him saying, I am a pimp and a sex trafficker who sleeps with 15-year-old girls. So it's different, right? But he is so good at getting ahead of it. What he does is called pre-bunking. Right? You pre-bunk using what's the word I'm looking for? It's like when you say, "Oh yeah, I'm guilty. Oh, I'm so guilty," right? And it's like, and then people are like,
"You're minimizing. You're accepting the premise and minimizing."
Mm-hmm. And he still does it to this day, where he's like his brother just goes like, "Oh, what are you guys up to today? I'm just sex trafficking," and it's like you dismiss it because you're thinking, oh, he would never say that if he actually was, right?
But then the videos come out. So in essence, what he's been doing, Zach, is he's been narrating what he's done the entire time. Then the video comes out.
He's been controlling the narrative.
Yep, right. But the more amorphous problem is when you saw that video, Benny Johnson, there's a couple of influencers that irk the shit out of me. He's one of them. This fake guy, no substance at all.
He's a sensationalist kind of
MAGA influencer, and he brings him on, and he's basically, as James Lindsay said, giving the guy a digital blowjob as he's interviewing. I mean, it's this huge buildup, and he builds himself as the Christian dad. He's like the white Bill Cosby of our movement.
I just met him like a couple months ago at the America Fest. I was on the roof with him and Carrie Lake, and he thinks he's a celebrity.
Totally.
I'm telling you, he walked walked in like he had his security. He had a little huddle. Everybody was keeping everybody away from him.
Oh,
It's
great.
like, what people need to realize is that none of these people are celebrities. And I'm talking about the biggest celebrity on X, Andrew Tate, in fact, right? These people are not celebrities. I told my buddy was calling in when I was doing my show, and he goes, put me on speakerphone. I want to be on the show. And if you go back a couple of weeks to one of my shows, you can find him. And I go, do you know who Andrew Tate is? And my buddy just goes, is that annoying bald dude with the Bugatti? That's how they know him, right? They don't know every little detail about who these people are. They're just like, I think so, bald guy, Bugatti. It's like, that's not famous. That's notable, right? So like, these people think they're celebrities. They think that this little bubble of Twitter where they get a lot of attention and a lot of views is the real world. I get recognized not often. I got recognized.
As do I, and I don't want it.
Yeah, I got recognized at the airport a few weeks ago. Like they were like, "Oh my God, you're Misfit," but I wouldn't call myself a celebrity because somebody noticed me, right? Like a celebrity to me would be like you go out and you
Elon
you got
Musk.
paparazzi, like you have actual paparazzi, right? It's like Andrew Tate. If he walked down the street in America, I think that he could walk down the street and I would say 90% of people wouldn't know who he was.
Back to Benny Johnson. I mean, okay, so there are some MAGA influencers that really irk the shit out of me. He's one of them. So he went in and he promoted this guy. All right, now let's get to Tucker Carlson because this guy is an icon, right? He is he's
famous,
platform, right? And what pissed me off is right before there was a huge tour, right before the election, actually, when there's a huge tour that Glenn Beck had, he had whatever. He went off and he put this, I'm just asking questions as he put a Holocaust denier on. And get this, he did it a week before everybody was booked for the shows. Jay Vance was booked, Megyn Kelly, all the. So in other words, putting these people in the spot where they would have to cancel the show, be super awkward, or just kind of go along with it and pretend, because it's close enough interval where they just went along and pretend like nothing happened. And then, in other words, setting them up to look like anti-Semite adjacent people.
I think Tucker Carlson may be a useful idiot right now. I wouldn't say, and I have to dig more. I was just talking about this yesterday. I'm not seeing Tucker Carlson be anti-Semitic, but I am seeing that he is platforming people who are, right? Which you can say is intentional. Like you can say Candace Owens style.
He's not a dumb guy.
No, he's not dumb, but a useful idiot can be a genius. Look at Elon Musk, smartest man in the world, was a Democrat a few years ago. So what I'm saying about Tucker is you could be 100% right. He could be doing this fully intentionally, but I think with Tucker, I think what he's trying to do is take the both sides, right? And he's like, okay, I want to hear from the worst people. And he may be overdoing like the Putin thing. He interviewed Putin, so people said he platformed Putin, and I was on Tucker's side. I said no, he should hear from the worst people. And what Tucker is doing is he's platforming the worst people because the best way to combat bad information is with information.
But he's not.
But then he went to fucking the grocery store and was like, it's awesome here. Moscow's great. And I'm like, okay, now that looks a little weird. So he's towing a fine line. And I think what he's doing is he's ruining his own credibility. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's like Candace Owens.
Oh, no.
But he's
dipping
his toe in the water a little, and that's it's unfortunate. Russell Brand, same thing, right? Russell Brand is now having Lily Phillips on. It's like, dude, here's the thing: new Christians are the most annoying fucking people on the planet. Right. Mm-hmm. These people that as an adult decided they wanted to be a Christian, read the whole Bible and go, now I know how to be a fucking Christian. And it's like, and on top of it, I have a huge platform. So I'm going to tell you how to be a good Christian. And it's like, listen, dude, this would be like, I do construction for a living. This would be like my 1-year apprentice saying, I can do this job better than you. No, you fucking can't. I've been doing it for 25 years. I mean, I've been a Catholic Christian since I was a child. I have a picture of me in my white confirmation suit. It's a life that has been lived over decades versus you, Tucker Carlson, who was, I think, last year saying he hadn't finished reading the Bible yet. Russell Brand, who just became a Christian last year. Candace Owens in 2018 was saying she doesn't understand Christianity. And these fake fucking Christians.
It's the Christ is King crew.
Christ is King for, well, it's Christ for clicks, actually. It's Christ for clicks is what it is, right? And at first, when I saw this new trend on the internet, I was actually very excited because as a lifelong Christian, I was not a lifelong practicing Christian until 2022, where I had sort of a come to Jesus and I went back to church and I started becoming practicing Christian again. I only took about maybe less than a decade off, but these new like Christ for clicks Christians, I think that their heart may be in the right place, but their head fucking isn't. And that's the thing. It's like they're trained to get engagement, and they're using they're using this this new toy that they have, right? Which is, and it's a new tool actually as well. And they realize that they're getting a lot of attention for it. And they're getting told by other idiots who probably don't practice Christianity at all that they're awesome. And oh yeah, that's so right. And they're using Chat GPT to figure out religion. It's like, it's not the same thing. And like I said, you give them another decade or so, and I bet you're going to have most of these people going like, if they stay on the path, right? If they stay on the path, if they stay on the path, they'll look back at this stuff and they'll be like, wow, I was so naive and I was so arrogant.
Yeah. Well, you're being very gratuitous. And I like that. I didn't expect that. But,
yeah. Like, I mean, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Listen, there are people that are lost. Okay. Candace Owens is fucking lost. She's not coming back. It's not happening. She's
done. So
she's done.
No one cares. Yeah. I mean, and she's done that. Not only, by the way, I mean, as a Jew, I can tell you, I think she's a bitch, but I can also say this whole bench she's on with this, just this dedication to proving that that the France PM's wife is a Jew.
Yeah, she's losing it.
She's obsessed with that.
But to go to actually tie this all together, right? This whole, we were talking about Candace Owens, but we're talking about Andrew Tate. Now we're talking about Candace Owens. There's this really strange connection I sort of found out when going down the Andrew Tate rabbit hole, right? So Candace Owens met Andrew Tate through her husband. She got engaged to her husband after 17 days. Her husband was really good friends with Andrew Tate before they met. Her husband is the one who introduced them, right? Candace Owens and Andrew Tate.
Yeah. And he's British, right?
Yeah, he's I believe so. So Andrew Tate and Candace Owens' husband are friends. Andrew Tate brags about how he ran this school to teach guys how to get women to fall in love with them and do whatever they want. That's what he says. Women will do whatever you want if you use my methods. What are the odds that Candace Owens' husband used similar methods on Candace Owens? It's really weird to get engaged to somebody after knowing them for 17 days, right? It is. It's very strange. So I'm not saying that this is 100%.
Listen, his shit works then.
If now I want to be very clear, because there's a difference between trolling and actually saying it out of my mouth. When I say something out of my mouth, I like to premise it with, I'm not actually saying this is true. I'm saying this is a possibility. Candace Owens' husband may have just brainwashed her, right? Because he's manipulating her. She has now become essentially one of the quote unquote hoes, right? And she's doing what her husband wants, which is spreading this anti-Jew propaganda, because her husband follows a very similar branch of Catholicism to like Mel Gibson, where they have this whole the Jews killed Jesus type of mentality, even though it was the fucking Romans. But if this is true, right? Let's go down, let's do conspiracy theory for a minute. Andrew Tate teaches this guy to get a woman and you can do whatever you want. Sees an easy mark in Candace Owens, who's an ignorant sensationalist, who's always been a sensationalist, who loves attention and loves the camera, gets her to start promoting this certain type of messaging. Candace Owens thinks it's her own idea, puts a bunch of babies in her so she can't go nowhere. And maybe they're in some type of, controlling, narcissistic, abusive dynamic where she's just, she can't leave, and she's promoting all this stuff because of the Andrew Tate PhD model, which is the pimp and hose degree model. If that's what happened, that fits so well into the timing, right? The timing of Candace Owens not knowing anything about Christianity, then becoming super Christian after marrying a Christian husband who she got engaged to after 17 days, and then starting to promote the anti-Jew propaganda that is obviously Andrew Tate's ideology because he's a fucking fake Muslim.
Listen, you've really thought this out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm autistic. I put puzzles together for it's just it's my hobby, and I don't mean real puzzles. I mean when shit. I don't do conspiracy theory. I do critical thinking and deductive reasoning, and I come up with.
We call it connecting the dots.
Yeah, I come up with the most likely possibility, right? So, like I said, Candace Owens is the timing of her right after October 7th, just jumping in. Yeah. But not only that, but she also platformed Andrew Tate, and she did this interview with him where she allowed him to spread this whole, it's been 10 years since I was doing that. Her whole interview, if you look back at it, she doesn't challenge him at all.
Right. She covers his ass. It's like a promo video. So, I mean, your theory is very interesting, and it sounds to me like the most plausible. And
it is a plausible one.
Yeah, and if so, it does make Andrew Tate, worth the hype if he's, embedding that kind of quasi-hypnotic stuff in. And
well, think about what Andrew Tate's doing now. Who's he trying to get in with now? Why did I make that video? The video where I said, "Hey, this is the fucking 5-alarm fire." It's because very quickly I saw that there was manipulation, right, in his whole personality.
Yeah.
And if he's trying to manipulate his way into Trump's inner circle successfully, then he would essentially be Epstein Part 2.
Yeah, right? It doesn't take much because, as you know, Trump is, if you like him, you're halfway there with him, right? Yeah. If you got a platform and you like Trump, you're halfway there. We all love people that love us, right? So that's not,
Well, it's Trump's biggest flaw is his ability to, like, people's ability to get Trump to like them because they like him. Right. He like if you compliment Trump, he'll like smile and he'll be like, "I like this guy. This is a great guy." Yeah, it's like Laura Loomer, another account that I can't stand, got into Trump's inner circle. She's a freaking psycho. She seems like a very nice person, but she's a crazy person, right? She's literally
I know her. I like her.
She's nice, but she's not good politically. She's politically a liability.
Okay, so I read something, one of your tweets or one of your posts today. You gave a very good reason why you think that. Tell me.
Because right. So what Laura Loomer does is if you insult her, she goes and stalks your whole family and starts posting personal things about you. She essentially doxes people, right? She acts like the woke left. She uses the same tactics of cancel culture to enact some retribution onto public officials or people on the internet. It's like what happened to me.
She makes it personal because I have to say I did push back. She's got investigative journalist. She's got some great stuff. She knows her facts, etc. But what you're saying is she goes hard in the paint over seemingly nothing.
But she's also wrong. That's the thing. She said Jimmy Carter was dead before he was dead. She said that Joe Biden was going on hospice. She doxes people. She's right. Like if she's right, Alex Jones, same problem I have with Alex Jones. Alex Jones is right half the time and wrong half the time. Right. So is Alex Jones credible? No. Is Alex Jones right a lot? Yes. You have to understand that my beef with Laura Loomer.
So I get it. I mean, I can be wrong zero times as an investigative journalist. So you
should be. Exactly. Laura Loomer calls herself a journalist. What she really is a content creator. If she wanted to call herself a content creator, that would be different. But the thing is, she was brought up in the Kash Patel hearing. And whether you agree with this or not, it's not a good look, right? With Kash Patel like taking photos with Laura Loomer taking photos with Donald Trump, and then with her saying Casey DeSantis lied about her cancer, and the Jews, or sorry, the 9/11 was an inside job.
Saying anything about Jews?
Yeah, no, I was mixing up the Jews did 9/11 with 9/11 was an inside job. But like Laura Loomer's great. She's a friend to the Jews, right?
She's Jewish.
She's Jewish, yeah.
Huh?
But that shouldn't mean that everybody who supports you is somebody that you should be aligning with.
I listen. I like your critique on a lot of stuff, and we agree on most of it. So yeah. I like this. So I want to put up this other thing that you did. I mean, the way that you explain things, I just love it. And I play this for a lot of my friends. What you said about Israel, because a lot of the MAGA group will reflexively say, I'm not going to war for Israel. I don't want to pay for war in Israel, etc. You just had a very good way of explaining it.
And also people are like, oh, more money going out to Israel. The key word here is paid for, right? And people just don't realize that Israel pays for their shit, right? I mean, these people that are constantly screaming about how much foreign aid we give to Israel are fucking retarded, because you can literally just look this up. While it is true that the U.S. gives Israel $3.8 billion annually in military aid, which over 10 years would equal $38 billion, over the past 10 years, Israel has had $49.52 billion in direct spending, which would leave us with a surplus of $11.52 billion, or $1.5 billion a year. We make $1.5 billion a year from our relationship with Israel. They also give us military intelligence and technology. There's a lot of benefits to being friends with the Jews.
Okay.
It's weird watching myself. Yeah, like I'm a post and ghost. I go to the comments, but I don't watch.
I hate watching myself too. I hate watching it, but I want everyone to know the reason why I love your content so much. Obviously, you're supportive of the Jews, and look, there's 0.02% of the population is Jews. We love you for that. But you're giving your point of view and you're putting the facts up. So what you just said about it is important to get it right. Yeah. You're really actually doing it in your content.
Well, see, what I try to do is I don't do it perfectly every time, but I try to use like critical thinking and deductive reasoning to make my point, as opposed to opinionated, right? Like nonsense. I mean, obviously I'm giving my opinion in my content, but if you're not backing it up with some type of, factual, like receipts, people call them receipts now. If you're not doing it with research and facts, then you aren't really, it's a trust me, bro, right? It's like, trust me, bro.
Right.
This is what's happening. This is essentially what Ian Carroll and all them do, right? They give you fake facts and they sound really smart, but they're not actually giving you, like, the Jews did 9/11. Well, how do you know that? Oh, with the dancing Israelis. Okay, there are 16 million Jews, and you say five of them danced. Look, 95% of Jews are Zionists. That means that 5%. That means 5% aren't, which equals 800,000. You can find 800,000 Jews that are happy about 9/11. It's not. This isn't like that. That's not. Proof.
And some are retarded.
It's confirmation bias. So when I do my content, I try to make a video where I can actually prove what I'm saying, or at least back it up with something. And look, I am a supporter of the Jewish people and the land of Israel, right? And I say this all the time. I don't give a shit about the country of Israel, right? Like, I don't care about Bibi Netanyahu. I don't care about your government. I don't know even how your government works, right? I am a Christian.
I don't either. And I'm involved in Israeli politics, so I
am a Christian that supports the Jewish people because Genesis, God to Abraham, I will bless thee that bless them, right? And it's like, you can't make that argument. And the stupid argument that people will say is, oh, well, with the New Testament, it cancels out the Old Testament. No, that's not how it works. A covenant doesn't just go away because a new one comes in, all right? They're forever. And, you know, that on top of that, I'm old enough. Some people say I don't look it. I'm old enough to remember 9/11. I remember it vividly. I remember I was a teenager, right? So when we said never forget, and we said those are the bad guys, right? I took that seriously. So if I have Christianity saying bless the Jews, and I have the memory of never forget, and you combine those two things, Israel, the country, I'm on their side, right? It's like, it's a simple mathematical equation. You got terrorists versus the IDF, right? It's like way up here.
New Jersey. So I want to put this up. I want to finish up with this because this is temporal. I have to tell you that every Jew that with sense literally had an orgasm on as soon as I mean the other night at the press conference.
Yeah,
you have no idea. I got so many messages. I have to take a cold shower. This is great. This is better than Black Friday shopping with somebody else's credit card with no limit for this Jap. Okay, loving every minute of it. And so, you know, this is really fundamental. What you just said set this up. So it was part prophecy. And I think evangelicals were also having a moment, if you will, right? Where this is prophecy. It's been written. And you know what happens if you are the one that tries to divide the nation of Israel? It's the stiffest punishment. Correct.
And I was just talking about this to somebody in my comments. I was sharing the Jordan Peterson arc image of the cross references in the Bible, right? The Bible's the Bible, right? I know that Jews have the Torah, but we have the Bible, which is 72 books written by 40 different authors over multiple continents across 1,500 years, and there are 66,000 cross references, right? It's it's impossible to write that story and call it fiction, right? Because it's essentially it's theology and history put together. But there are over 70 prophecies in the Bible that have come true already. And this would be another one if it comes to fruition. But the U.S. taking over Gaza, it's more of a political thing.
Build the wall. It's a concept because we know that we'd be a target over there, right?
If you want to get real deep into this, right? I truly believe that God saved Donald Trump, right? Like, if you want to get real deep into it, I think he moved that fucking bullet, right? And if he did that, there was a reason for it.
But even atheists would agree with you. I mean, that's. I mean, you're talking about a providence, you know, divine providence. Actually, he referenced that.
Divine intervention,
in his inaugural speech, and I thought it was great because even if you're not a person of the book, you know something was behind it. In fact,
something weird happened. If you, like an atheist would be like that. An atheist would argue that it's
I'm kidding.
An atheist would argue it's a 1 in a million coincidence. I believe in coincidences. When you look at the video of Donald Trump turning his head at the last second, just the last second. Now, look, I'm a very avid shooter. I shoot 500 yards at a 6-inch plate, and I can hit it 10 times in a row. I know what it takes to make a shot. 38-yard shot.
Could have made that.
Yeah. Even on a red dot, which the kid was using, right? That at that distance, Trump should be dead. But if you look at the positioning, when he turns his head, it was supposed to be a temple shot, right? And Trump turned his head like this, right? So temple is right here, and he turned his head like this. And he says he was looking at a teleprompter that's usually on the other side. And, you know, there's so many little things. I covered this extensively when it happened. But all right, all that being said, to me, that's divine intervention. Why? Okay. If that's divine intervention, why? Because God doesn't give a shit about American politics. Okay. God doesn't care about the next 4 years in America. Right. If it's divine intervention, it's divine intervention for a much larger reason, because Donald Trump could essentially become a peacemaker throughout the world. Right. If again, I try not to speak in absolutes. If God save Trump, so Trump could assist in maybe even just getting us closer to world peace. The situation that he just announced the other day is definitely on track to do it, because if the U.S. puts themselves right there in Gaza and they move out all these Palestinians, and you can say whatever you want about the Palestinians, there are some good Palestinians, they're Christian.
They need to de-radicalize the population.
Correct. And the best way to de-radicalize is separate. Get them away from Hamas, right? If you show, let's say you have a radicalized, indoctrinated Palestinian that thinks that the Jews are evil people, and then you put them into a fucking condo, right? And you show them what the real world looks like. And you give them a fucking cell phone that isn't controlled by, Al Jazeera.
I know former Muslims that hated Jews. And
well, look at I can't remember his name, but the son of the Hamas leader that now speaks out against it. It's like, that's what happens. When it's just like what happened with me and Andrew Tate and Candace Owens. Once they get red pilled, there's no going back.
It's actually called learning, and we do it all the time.
Yeah. So, like I said, if this situation works out the way I think it can, right, where Trump is just going to be a delegator of rebuilding that region, creating relationships, right? Like you get Saudi Arabia involved, you get all these people,
investment opportunities. Sure,
you get Egypt to take in some people, and you get to sort of, I wouldn't say nanny or babysit, but maybe just check in and make sure things are
zero shit though. So
exactly.
There's going to be some consequences that are needed. But
no. But you see, the thing that everyone's leaving out of this is, I think that under this plan, it means what you're doing is you're taking away their human shields also, which means there is going to be a conflict. The conflict, I don't think, needs American soldiers, but it's probably going to take American military to come in there and throw some drones at them, something along those lines. I think that Trump, it was reported that Trump watched the 47-minute video before he made this decision. I've seen that video.
I can confirm that from the people that did it, because I know who they are. And you cannot see that and think that you cannot act on it.
Anybody that watches that video, I mean, I watched it. I watched the footage right when it happened, and then look, the argument that they are freedom fighters is the dumbest fucking argument that I've heard, right? There is no freedom fighter in the world that justifies the nailing a woman's vagina, right? Like, to burning them alive, breaking their hip bones so they're behind their fucking head. Like, it doesn't, there's no way to make that argument, right? I mean, if you were to pin somebody down and really sit there and be like, what do you think about this? They would be like, well, that they were just pushed to the brink. No. All right. What would you do if you were pushed to the brink? Would you murder somebody, or would you rape them and throw nails in their vagina? And it's like, once you really get them to acknowledge the facts that this happened, like, you don't cut somebody's head off with a garden hoe, right? Like, you just don't, right? Like, especially when they're already on the ground bleeding.
Yeah. Now, this is a level of inhumanity that there's only one way to deal with people like this. But you're right. I don't believe that all Gazans are like this. I believe that a majority are either adjacent or whatever. But the question is, can they be de-radicalized? We've seen it happen before, but two things have to happen. They need to be taken out of the rubble, and they need the opportunity to make a life for themselves and de-radicalized. And I think that's what we're saying here.
Yeah, well, let's say we go with the numbers, right? The numbers that support Hamas are between 72 and 80%, right? So that's what, 1.6 million people, 20% of that, 250,000, right? You get 250,000 people that are already good, right? But then you have around 800,000 that actually support terrorism, and they're probably radicalized and indoctrinated. How do you deal with them? Slowly. I mean, it's going to take years, and you're not going to get all of them, but you can.
I said, they've got the death penalty in some of these countries are thinking about taking them to. And I can tell you, Egypt takes no shit.
Groupthink works in both ways, though. If you can change the hearts and minds of enough people in a group, you can change the whole group, right? And that means for the good as well.
We sound like liberals right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you were to take away the one thing that is radicalizing them, right, which is Hamas and radical jihad, and you were to show them, like Trump is saying, put them in a nice place, right? Is there going to be growing pains? Are they still going to try to do terrorist shit? Yeah. Once you get about 20% of the 800,000 number to run around to their friends and be like, you know what, guys, we might have been wrong about this. They'll be scratching their heads. They'll pull their dick out of a goat and go, hey, wait, maybe you're right. Like it's a possibility. But like I said, if that's what does happen, and right now there's no way to tell. If that's what does happen, maybe that's why God saved Trump. Maybe that's why that bullet missed. It could be because he was so close with the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
I mean, stealing the 2020 election, I'm one of those people that thinks it was stolen. Stealing the 2020 election was probably the best thing that ever happened, right? A lot of people look at it as like the worst thing. If we didn't have 4 years of this shit, right, we wouldn't see how bad it is, and we wouldn't actually have the will to clean it up. So, and I'm not talking about just American politics. I'm talking October 7th. I'm talking the war in Ukraine. I'm talking about China. I'm talking about like all these things where we were like, wow, this is uncomfortable. It's like me. I was homeless. I was the worst employee ever. I out of, just a series of unfortunate events, I became homeless, and I said, I'm not going to be this uncomfortable ever again. Started my own business. Now I do really well for myself. Awesome. If I had just had a decent job for that whole time and I stayed kind of okay, I'd probably still be fucking slacking off. It's like, so I think that it's a blessing in disguise what happened in that 2020.
Right. I mean, we all need the hero's journey, and that's kind of where Trump is politically. And and so, I mean, we'll end this there. I mean, we're going to have a lot of conversations, I can tell, but I love.
Oh, yeah.
And
we'll do it again. You can come on my show.
I'd love to. The content, your perspective, and then you're backing it up with facts. I don't see that very often. And I mean, where can we find you? Misfit Patriot.
So it should be the Misfit Patriot on X and Instagram, and then Rumble. It's TMP, stands for the Misfit Patriot. TMP Uncensored. And one final thing, right? Because I think we touched on it a little bit, but the woke right that we're referring to, right? The Candace and Tate thing, right? It's important to remember. I want your followers to understand this, right? It's important to remember that this groupthink, clout-chasing, Jew-hating trend does not mean these people are anti-Semitic, right? And I know that sounds crazy because of what they're saying, but they're not anti-Semitic. They are lost, weak people who are following a clique, right? And the same way that I was just telling you that you can change the hearts and minds of a whole group of people by just changing the hearts and minds of a few of them, right? Call them out, make fun of them, but make sure you're aware that these people are just stupid and they're not actually the evil people that you think they are. They're just weak, right? It's like if I had Alex Rosen, I don't know if you know who that is, the I Fight for Kids guy. He's like the Hodge twins, right? He's saying a bunch of offensive shit because it gets him clicks. I had him in my inbox yesterday, and you know what he was telling me? He goes, send me what you got, right? Because he's like, I don't like that Jews control 90% of Congress. I go, actually they don't. And he goes, well, send me what you got, right? So there is inroads, and we can turn this around and we can fix it. But it's the perpetuating cycle will continue if we're just alienating them and not trying to pick out the ones that can be saved and using them to change that whole group, right? Because it'll just be a never-ending cycle. But that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I like that perspective. It's different from the one I have, and I'm willing to consider it, obviously, because I am a.
But I do want to be very clear. When you see somebody saying Nazi shit and fucking definitely fight back against them. I'm not saying be friends. I'm not saying be friends with these people.
Oh, no. I've seen how you operate, my friend.
What I'm saying is learn to find the ones who are actual anti-Semitic and the ones that are just clout chasing.
Right. They're just questioning.
Hodge twins are clout chasers. Candace Owens hates Jews. Two completely different groups. Nick Fuentes hates Jews. right? Fucking, and it's very hard to tell the difference between them, but there is a difference.
Well, very, very valuable advice because we're all in that fight. And again, thank you for being in the fight. And
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're going to have this ongoing discussion. Yeah, there's a lot of fight to be had. So thank you again for being in the fight, and make sure that you follow Misfit Patriot, one of my favorite creators out there. So thank you again.